Hey everyone, you ready to take a deep dive with me into the world of rescue dog adoption?
I am. It's such a rewarding experience, and we've got a ton of great sources to pull from today.
We do. We've got advice from experts at the Ontario SPCA, tips from experienced rescue dog owners, even a heartwarming real-life story.
A good mix to help listeners navigate the entire adoption process.
Exactly. And hopefully help them steer clear of any bumps in the road.
Because it's not always easy. But with the right knowledge and a little preparation, it can be such a joyful experience.
Couldn't agree more. So maybe we can start with some of those crucial first steps. I know the Ontario SPCA has some really practical advice.
They do. In fact, they emphasize something really important right from the get-go, and that's to really think long-term.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just a weekend fling. This is a 15-year commitment, at least.
At least. Are you prepared to handle walks every single day, rain or shine?
Rain or shine, exactly.
Those are the realities.
Those everyday realities.
Yeah.
And it's not just the time commitment. The SPCA also highlights those financial aspects.
Which often, I think, people don't really fully consider.
Yeah. The food, the vet care, all those chew toys.
Oh, yes.
That your dog will inevitably go through.
I do love those chew toys.
Oh, tell me about it. It's like they've got superpowers.
Yeah.
But seriously, having those supplies ready, even before your dog steps paw into its new home.
Yes.
That's super important.
It's about, minimizing that stress, creating that haven for them right away.
100%. And speaking of creating a haven, the pup mommy, who's a seasoned rescue dog owner, she is a big advocate for something called dog-proofing your house.
Absolutely.
So have you heard this term before?
Oh, yeah.
So for our listeners, it's basically thinking like a dog. Legos on the floor.
A big no-no.
That's history.
Gone.
An electrical cord.
Very tempting.
Very tempting. Your favorite houseplant.
Might lose a leaf or two.
It's amazing what they can get into.
Yeah.
And, and even if your dog is house trained, accidents happen.
Oh, especially.
Especially in those new environments.
In a brand new environment.
Yeah.
They're just overwhelmed. It's a sensory overload for them, right?
It makes total sense.
So the pup mommy actually recommends creating this designated safe space right away, somewhere comfy, easy to clean, where your dog can kind of, decompress, process this new world.
I love that. Like their own little sanctuary.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Your own little sanctuary within your home.
I love that. Their little kingdom. And speaking of, this whole new world, we see that several experts, including Cesar Millan, talk about the importance of patience, especially in those, initial days and weeks.
Oh, for sure.
It can take time.
It can take a while.
For those personalities
to emerge.
To really shine through.
Yeah. I mean, imagine going from a shelter with all those unfamiliar smells and sounds to suddenly being in a home. It's a huge adjustment. It takes time for them to de-stress, learn to trust you, let their guard down a little.
It really makes you realize how much we sometimes underestimate, the emotional intelligence of animals.
Yes.
They're going through this major
Absolutely.
Life transition, just like a person would.
For sure. And that's where I think establishing a routine becomes extra important.
Okay.
Because, dogs, they're creatures of habit, right?
They are.
And in Rough Company, a fantastic dog training resource, by the way.
Okay.
They highlight how routines actually tap into a dog's pack mentality.
Now, that's fascinating. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. In a pack, there's a predictable social structure, right? There's a hierarchy, there are set meal times, there are designated roles, and this predictability, it reduces anxiety.
Okay.
So when we establish clear expectations for, say, feeding times, walks, even just play times, we're kind of recreating that sense of security.
Oh, that's so interesting. So instead of imposing human schedules on them, we're kind of tapping into something that's already ingrained in their DNA.
Exactly. And Save Our Scruff Canada actually points out that it's not just about preventing those unwanted behaviors either. It's about engaging their minds.
Okay.
Mental stimulation is so important.
It is. A tired dog is a well-behaved dog.
Exactly.
That's what they say.
Exactly. And, speaking of behavior, Save Our Scruff Canada also has some great tips about introducing your new dog to other pets, if you have them.
Right, which I'm sure a lot of people do.
Yeah. It's all about that slow and steady approach.
Okay.
Wins the race, right?
Makes sense.
Start with those scent introductions, maybe through their crates or even just under the door.
Okay.
And then, gradually progress to those short, supervised interactions. Leashed walks together can also be fantastic for establishing that pack mentality.
Okay. It sounds like it's all about making them feel, safe and part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing how much we can learn from, just observing those natural instincts.
It is.
It's like your pack mentality.
It is. And, speaking of learning, you mentioned training earlier.
Right.
What are some of those, essential things that new rescue dog owners should really focus on?
Well, I think especially with a rescue dog,
Mm-hmm.
who's adapting to this whole new set of rules and routines,
Right.
training is absolutely foundational.
Oh, it's key. And you know what? Save Our Scruff Canada,
Yeah.
they make a really interesting point about this.
Okay.
They say, training is about so much more than just teaching commands.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, tell me more.
It's about, teaching your dog how to learn how to communicate effectively with you.
Okay,
It's like building that shared language,
I like that.
and when you have that, you're setting them up for success in a way that goes beyond, just stay calm.
Totally. It's like giving them the tools
Yes.
to really thrive in this new environment.
And in rough company, they're big on this too.
Like laying that groundwork from day one. Even those seemingly small things, house training, basic commands, teaching your dog where its bed is,
Right.
these all make a huge difference.
Because it's about establishing those expectations.
Exactly, from the very beginning.
Yeah. Which goes back to, those routines.
Yes, and just like routines tap into their pack instincts. Positive reinforcement really resonates with how they learn naturally.
Okay. So for those who might not be familiar with that term,
Yeah,
what exactly is positive reinforcement?
that's a great question. So essentially, it's all about, rewarding the behaviors that we want to see more of,
Okay.
right? So instead of punishing unwanted behaviors,
Right.
we focus on, really rewarding the good stuff.
Okay.
So think treats, praise a happy voice, anything your dog finds rewarding.
Right.
So for example, if we're trying to teach our new rescue pup to sit,
Yes.
we wouldn't scold them for not getting it right away.
Right.
We would, use a treat to kind of lure them into that sit position.
And then, shower them with trays and maybe even a little happy dance when they get it right.
You got it. And the best part is it builds their confidence.
Ah.
It strengthens that bond between you.
Yeah.
It creates this positive learning environment where they feel, safe and eager to please.
Which is especially important, I imagine, for a rescue dog
Oh, absolutely.
who might, come with a little bit of baggage.
For sure. And speaking of creating that, positive and supportive environment,
Yeah.
I'm remembering that heartwarming story that you mentioned, Cooper and his new owner, Sue Ann.
Yes. Tell me about their journey.
Yeah, how was that initial transition for them?
So Cooper was adopted from the Davies County Animal Shelter.
Okay.
And according to Sue Ann, those first few days in their home were really rough.
Oh,
He was visibly shaking, wouldn't make eye contact,
wow.
seemed terrified of everything.
Oh, gosh. Poor guy. I mean, it makes sense given everything he'd been through.
It does.
But what did Sue Ann do to help him kind of settle in?
Well, she and her husband actually made, I think, a really smart decision. They cleared out their garage
Okay.
and they created this, safe space for him there, away from the commotion of their other pets.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It was quiet, dimly lit.
Yeah.
It had everything he needed,
Ah,
comfy bed, food, water, a few safe chew toys.
they really understood that importance of space.
They did. And,
Huh.
Sue Ann admitted that her first instinct was to shower him with affection.
Of course.
Like,
I don't
oh,
think-
you're home now. But she quickly realized
Right.
that that wasn't what he needed in that moment.
It's funny how we think that's what they need, right?
It is.
Like, that's the most loving thing to do is
Right.
just, love on them constantly. But sometimes they just need a minute
They need a minute
to
to
decompress,
adjust.
to approach those interactions on their own terms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, Sue Ann actually shared a story about how she tried to give Cooper a big hug.
Oh.
And he actually, showed his teeth a little bit.
Oh, no.
And she immediately was like, okay, he's not being aggressive.
Right.
This is him communicating too much too soon.
Back up a little.
Back up. So she backed off,
Good for her.
respected his boundaries.
Yes.
Let him come to her when he was ready.
See, and that's such a perfect example of, why it's so crucial to pay attention to their body language.
Yes.
They communicate so much through, the subtle cues, a tail, a whale eye, a slight lip lick.
Right.
Learning to interpret those signals is like unlocking this whole new level of understanding.
It's like learning their language.
Exactly.
Just like we were talking about with training.
Yes.
And, I think that's what makes Sue Ann such a great dog owner.
Yeah.
Because she was willing to put aside her own expectations.
Right.
and meet Cooper where he was at.
Instead of expecting him to meet her where she was at,
Exactly.
which is what we often do.
Yes.
It's about meeting them with empathy and compassion every step of the way.
It really is a journey, and it
Yeah.
requires a shift in perspective sometimes.
Yeah.
We're so used to dogs being, outgoing and, eager to please.
Right.
But sometimes with rescue dogs, we need to let them set the pace a little bit.
Let him lead.
So did Cooper eventually warm up?
He did.
He did.
It was gradual, of course.
Okay.
Sue-Ann said, around week 4, he started venturing out of the garage more, exploring the house, even becoming a bit more demanding about, when he wanted to be petted. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yes.
That little glimmer of personality
Yeah.
starting to shine through.
And you know what?
It's that.
That often coincides with, testing boundaries a little bit. They're
Okay.
feeling more secure.
Right.
So they're like, okay, let's see what I can get away with in this new place.
So a little bit of mischief
A little bit.
is actually a good sign.
In a way, yes.
Okay.
It's about, finding that balance between giving them space and setting those clear boundaries.
Which goes back to training.
Yes.
Did Sue-Ann talk about her approach to training Cooper? She did. She started with, basic commands, sit, stay, come, using those positive reinforcement techniques that we talked about.
Right.
She also mentioned crate training,
Okay.
but she was very intentional about it.
Okay. So for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar with that,
Yes.
how does crate training kind of factor into all of this?
So crate training can be a really valuable tool,
Okay.
but it's one of those things where there are a lot of, different opinions out there, different approaches,
Sure.
and it's important to approach it thoughtfully.
Okay.
Sue-Ann's approach really resonated with what I've learned, which is you introduce the crate gradually as a safe and comfortable space,
Yeah. Wow.
not a punishment.
Right.
So you make it super inviting,
Okay.
cozy blankets, maybe a long-lasting chew toy inside,
Okay.
and you let them kind of explore it at their own pace.
So it's about, creating those positive associations with it
Exactly.
rather than forcing them into it.
Yes. And she only used it for short periods, initially, gradually increasing the time. Okay.
And of course, lots of praise and rewards when he went in willingly.
Right. It's like you're conditioning them slowly
Yes,
to
exactly.
be comfortable.
It's all about, building that positive association.
Yeah. And even with, the best preparation and the best training,
Right.
there are bound to be bumps in the road, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every dog is different. Every adoption story is unique.
Of course.
And, Sue-Ann was very open about the fact that, there were definitely moments,
Yeah.
especially in those early weeks where she felt overwhelmed,
Right.
a little discouraged,
Sure.
even questioning what it took to really help Cooper overcome his past.
Yeah, you start to second guess yourself a little bit.
Of course. Because it's like, can I really do this?
Right.
Can I be the person that this dog needs me to be?
Exactly. And I think that's something a lot of new rescue dog owners probably experience,
Oh, for sure.
even if they don't talk about it.
Absolutely. It's
Right.
such an emotionally demanding process.
Right.
And, those feelings are completely normal.
Yeah. And Sue-Ann, she emphasized the importance of, seeking support, connecting with other experienced rescue dog owners,
Okay.
finding that community where you can share your struggles and celebrate your victories.
So you're not alone.
Exactly. And, she also dove headfirst into, really researching dog behavior training techniques,
Okay.
really trying to understand the why behind Cooper's actions.
Well, that's good.
Because knowledge is power, right?
It is.
And it can make all the difference in those moments of, self-doubt.
Instead of thinking, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
It's what is my dog trying to communicate?
Yes,
Mm.
exactly. And that shift can be so empowering.
Right.
And she mentioned how much Cooper's body language just started making sense to her.
Wow.
She wasn't just, reacting to his behavior. She was anticipating his needs
Oh, wow.
and preventing, situations that might have been stressful for him.
That's amazing.
Isn't that incredible?
It really is. It sounds like
Yeah.
her, dedication to really understanding him
Yes,
made all the difference.
it did. And you know what else her story reminded me of?
What's that?
The importance of celebrating those small victories.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's easy to get caught up in the challenges, right?
Right.
But acknowledging that progress, no matter how small,
Yeah.
can make all the difference.
So what were some of those milestones for Cooper and Sue-Ann?
Well, for starters, he finally started sleeping through the night.
Okay.
Around week 8,
Okay.
his house training was becoming more consistent.
Okay.
And he was showing, more affection towards Sue Ann and her husband.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Right.
So it sounds like things were really starting to click into place.
They were. And you know what else happened around that time?
What's that?
He started playing with toys.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing?
It's like night and day from when they first got him.
It is.
That's incredible.
It's those little glimpses of joy starting to emerge.
Wow.
And, as he settled in, they gradually started introducing him to their other pets.
Oh.
Again, that slow process sent swapping supervised interactions, lots of positive reinforcement.
Right.
But eventually they all found their rhythm as a pack.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. So it sounds like, they followed those same principles
Yes.
of patience and understanding.
Consistency.
Yeah.
All of those things.
Throughout that whole process.
100%.
Hmm.
Because it's not just about, the initial bringing them home.
Right.
It's about all of those little integrations along the way.
It's about, meeting your dog where they're at.
Yes.
Understanding that, their journey might look different from what you had maybe imagined.
Right. And being okay with that.
Yes, and celebrating every single victory along the way.
Absolutely.
I love that. And while Cooper's story is such a beautiful illustration, I think it's important to zoom back out.
Yes.
And remember, those excellent resources from the Ontario SPCA.
Yes.
Yeah.
Their advice is so valuable.
It is.
For anyone considering, bringing home a rescue dog.
They really emphasize, choosing the right dog for your lifestyle,
Yes. That's
your home environment.
Which we haven't really touched on that much.
No, we haven't.
But it's so important.
It is.
Because, it's easy to get swept up in those puppy dog eyes.
Oh, yeah?
But compatibility is key.
Yes.
They recommend asking yourself some tough questions
Okay.
before you even set foot in a shelter.
Yeah.
Are you active enough for a high-energy dog?
Right?
Do you have the space for a large breed?
Okay.
Are you prepared for the grooming needs of a certain type of coat?
It's a lot to think about
It is.
that we maybe don't want to think about when we're
Mhm.
picturing ourselves, cuddling that cute puppy.
Exactly.
But it's so important.
It's about, making a thoughtful decision
Right.
that's going to set everyone up for success.
And, I love that they really stress, being patient
Yes.
throughout this entire process.
It's not about finding the perfect dog.
Right. Because there's really no such thing, is there?
There isn't.
It's about finding the right dog.
Yes. And
Yeah.
trusting your gut.
Okay.
Sometimes there's just a connection. You
Yeah.
know? It's like something in your heart says, this is the one.
Oh, and those moments are magic.
They are pure magic.
They really are.
Yeah.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of rescue dog adoption. I feel like we've covered so much good information today.
We really have, from, those pre-adoption considerations
Yeah.
to navigating those, life-changing first few months.
Absolutely. And, we explored how important it is to really understand, a dog's innate instincts,
Yes.
that pack mentality.
Yes, their need for predictability.
Yes,
All of those things can really help create a smoother transition
for sure.
and a stronger bond.
And of course, we learned so much from Sue Ann and Cooper.
Their story is so inspiring.
It is. It's such a beautiful reminder that, patience, consistency, and a whole lot of love can really work wonders.
And as you continue your own journey, of welcoming a rescue dog into your life,
Yeah.
remember to approach every interaction with empathy and understanding.
Yes.
See the world through their eyes.
I love that.
Celebrate those small victories.
Yes.
And never underestimate the power of that human-animal bond.
Beautifully said. To all our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible deep dive.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you feel informed, inspired, and ready to embark on this life-changing adventure.